Hi friends, today I'm going to show you how I made this really cute vintage look sweatshirt with the rag quilt. All right, come a little closer there. There you go. I got the sweatshirt at Walmart. If you're looking for this color in particular, today I'm going to be using more of a heather gray. What you're going to need for this project, you're going to need your sweatshirt, of course. Make sure you have that. You are going to need some fabric of your choice. I just pulled up my red since I'm sticking with Valentine's Day. You're going to need to cut at least 26 2.5-inch squares from a variety of colors. If you don't have that variety, this is a fabric quarter bundle from Walmart. It was under $8 and you got 5 different fat quarters that coordinate. All right, and you can supplement that. You are going to need to cut your flannel into 2.5-inch squares as well. So you need 26 of the flannel, 26 of the red, or whatever color you're using. Quilter's ruler is handy, comes in nice. When you're cutting the long strips, have a rotary cutter if you have that. If you don't, just draw your lines and use your fabric scissors. You're going to need some pinking shears. These will give you that rag look for that vintage look on it. These are the ones that go zigzag. You might want some paper to cut your heart pattern. This is a cute little ruler that I love to use because it just makes cutting these strips with 2.5 inches really nice when you're cutting the strips apart. Okay, this tracing paper, this is what we're going to transfer the heart. We're going to trace the heart onto the front of the sweatshirt, but then I put this underneath and go over it with this wheel, and this is by Dritz, okay, to transfer to the inside back. You're going to want something to mark the front of your sweatshirt with. So I use white chalk, or I'm probably going to use this Frixion pen because my shirt is really light. All right. This Frixion pen goes away with heat when it's applied. And of course, you're going to need some paper to make your heart. You're going to need, I said, 26 of these squares put together. If you're going with a smaller size, mine's a medium. So I kind of went a little bit smaller. I didn't want to go wider than 10. I did take a tad off of this from my last one, but I would kind of save that just because I didn't want to use an extra set of squares. But you're only looking at a difference of 4 to 5 new squares added on. All right, have your other scissors, paper scissors to cut your paper with. All right, and I think that's all the supplies you need. So I'm going to give you your first step. Your first step is going to be to take your squares and line each one with a square of flannel on the back. And then we're going to take those squares and we are going to crisscross, sew crisscross on them. Okay, I didn't do that one yet. From corner to corner, I kind of just put them through on that line and feed the next one in underneath. And I'll show you a short video so you can see how that was done. Get all your squares put together and sewn together. And we'll be back for the next step. Here is my layout. I have a total of 21. That's going to be for the point. Remember, when you're trying to figure out your heart, each square is going to turn out to be 2 inches. So keep that in mind when you're sewing them together. So going across here, this one to be at 10 inches. That's why I came in 3/4 of an inch on my paper when I was making my heart. But if you want to use the whole paper, just add another row onto it. And you can even add 2 down here, and that would give you a total of, what is that? 24 plus 2, 26. And then we'll start sewing the rows together. We are going to sew each of our rows, but this time we're going to sew wrong sides together so that we get that raised edge, and we're going to use pinking shears or a scissor to kind of make that a little bit more vintage. Now we're going to sew our columns together. So one of the things we're going to do, wrong sides together still, but you really want to match up your seams here. And you can decide how you want them to go. They're going to get smushed down a little bit, and then I just kind of trip them, but try to get your seams matched up as nice as possible. Okay. And I might have one seam go one way and one seam go the other way. You can see that. They are like that. One way and then the other way. But do that for all of them. Sew down at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. So I'm going to do this one Then I'm also going to do this one, and then I'll come back and sew them. We'll get them all sewn together. If you don't have pinking shears, you can kind of just take this and just kind of, I'm going to zoom in a little bit for you to see. And you can kind of just snip up until you get to that seam line. It's going to make it kind of fray a little bit more and get that vintage feel. So you'll just kind of work your way, snipping down along the lines. But if you have pinking shears, it goes a lot quicker. All right, let me show you about how much to cut off if you're using pinking shears. So I don't want to cut off too much. So let's kind of see what I'm cutting off. Just about like just the edge, kind of even them all up. Just cutting them all to even up. If you wanted to even yours up before you started doing that snipping, you can do that as well. It's a personal preference. I just kind of came up with this on my own. So make it your own. All right, so I'm just going to do this to each of my seams. And I'm even going to try to do the ones going across too. I am also going to snip in here to kind of release these seams, and I'm going to do pinking shears on them. But since I nested them, so I need to kind of get in here, and I don't want to cut my thread, so let me show you here. So since that was nested going down that way, I just want to come in here and kind of release it a little bit so I can snip this with pinking shears. So I'm going to do that to each of them on each. I have it all trimmed with my pinking shears. I think it looks really good. If you didn't have your pinking shears and you just use snips and stuff, you may have wanted to trim down your seams just a little bit. You make it you. It's going to be fine. Just don't cut your seams. That is all. All right, we're going to get our sweatshirts and we're going to be tracing the heart on there. So get yours all set. You're going to want to find your middle. I just put a little mark on mine here. Let me lay that for you to see. Sorry, did not mean to rock my camera. And so my little mark is right there. And then my heart, I kind of want this to be like 6 inches. I want my V of my heart to be 6 inches down from that. That's where it was on my other one. So I'm going to put this in the middle. I'm going to kind of have my V right there. I can go up just a tad right there. It's going to be good. And now I'm going to trace that on. And I can use the white chalk, but I don't think my white chalk is going to show. It showed fine on my oatmeal one that I had. Let's see. Doesn't really show. So I'm just going to use this Frixon pen. Now, after you have your heart drawn on there, we're going to take the tracing paper and we're going to be putting that inside here. And to make sure it's kind of, I'm going to go up here, lay that back down flat, pull it down, see if I can feel it in there. So that's good. I'm going to get that side done. Let me smooth that out. So I'm just going to take that and I'm going to, I just need to know where to place my panel on the inside. And you can see how it transferred in there. You can see that line. All right. We're going to turn it inside out. All right. This is the inside of the sweatshirt, the inside front. So make sure you have the inside front there. I'm going to see if I can zoom out just a little bit more for you. There you go. And now I'm going to take my panel, and I need to make sure I'm above the heart top, and I at least have the bottom of the V here. So if you're good and you kind of have it kind of centered, I kind of want it centered on mine. I'm almost not even going to be using this. I'm probably not going to be using some of the extras on the outside. But now you're just going to pin that. I'm going to pin this here, and then I'm going to definitely pin on the front as well after I turn it around. turn it right side out. I have some pins that are close to my line, so I need to definitely move those. So I'm just going to pin from the outside here, and then I'll pull that pin. And I think everything else is good. So I am going to sew around on my line. I'm going to go around twice. I'm going to use a little bit of a smaller stitch. I think it's a normal stitch is 2.5. I'm going to do 2. So I've got to make sure I know where my you can see where I've sewn, and I came pretty close on here, so go with the extra. It's okay to waste, it's gonna be fine. So once you have this done, then we're gonna cut this all away, and I'm gonna use my pinking shears to do that again, so I don't have to worry about it unraveling and stuff. Don't do what I did when you trim around. I accidentally got that because I probably should have snipped down in there first and then went to cut it. Instead, I cut my sweatshirt. All right, so you have it trimmed all the way around. Let's turn it right side out. All right, we're ready for the reveal here. So make sure when you pull it up, you don't want to make a mistake like I just did. We're going to open that up. And I'm going to use my pinking shears once again to go around. I'm going to be really careful this time. So I'm going to get mine all done carefully, and then I'll share it with you. Here is the reveal. Kind of stretch that out if you want to give it more of a rag look. And then if you have any ideas of how I can fix my little boo-boo up here, let me know. I already know I'm going to take some embroidery floss and stitch that around. So I might just do that, and I might see if that helps cover it up a little bit. But I'm open to any suggestions. You just be careful when you do yours. And that's how you do the reverse applique for a vintage rag quilt heart sweatshirt. Show me yours if you do one. I'd love to see it.